Hey there, how's it going? Today I wanted to show you the steps that you need to take in order to get models that have black outlines like what you see here with this little stepping stone. The process is pretty simple, but it helps to know how it's working. So I'll try to explain it a little bit. Essentially what's happening is there's two sets of geometry. One is the stepping stone, the inside, and then two is the same stepping stone but scaled up and the normals are reversed. And normals can have one or two sides. It just depends on how you want to render it. If you're rendering both inside and outside, it's twice the rendering cost. Speaking of performance, this will obviously have a performance impact based on how many you have, because you're essentially doubling the amount of vertices that you have on each model. But this effect is pretty common in things like Okami. You can see it's on essentially every model in the game almost. It's on the rocks, it's on the wooden posts, and I think it's even on the cliff in the background there. But in order to create this, I'm going to jump over into Blender, and here we have my default scene. I'm going to hit X and delete the monkey head, and Shift A to add in a cube. Actually, let me turn on the screencast key so you can see what I am doing. Alright. So now that we have this cube, I'm going to use this for demonstration purposes. I'm just going to hit Tab and go over into edit mode. The first thing that we need to do is, let's say this is our rock. We would want to duplicate it with Shift D. So we have a second set of geometry, and then we would hit S and scale that up a little bit. The next thing to do is press Control N, and that will swap the normals over if you press the inside button down here. Now you'll see something changed there, and the normals were flipped, but we can't see the other set of geometry that's there. If you hit Z and go over to wireframe, you can see it inside there. Now this doesn't get affected in Unreal Engine if you change it here, but if you go over to the menu on the side here by pressing N to open, hit backface culling, and you can see through the one side of the geometry. So we kind of have what we want almost, but the next thing we need to do is we need to add two different materials. One material is going to be for the inside cube, and the other material is going to be the black outside. So I'm going to go over to the Materials tab here, and I'll just hit the plus button twice. The first material is going to be applied to everything, so I'll say New Material, and since it's a stone, I'll make it a little more gray, I guess. And then for the second material, we'll hit New again, and we'll change this one to black. Now, these materials you can change in Unreal Engine, but I'm just doing this here so you can kind of see what's going on. Now, if I hover my mouse over like a vertice and then press L, it'll select everything that's linked to that. So everything on the outside we have a hold of now. And if we have our second material selected and we hit Assign, we can assign it to that and then leave the other material alone. So this is looking pretty close to what we want in terms of style. So let's take this over to Unreal Engine. If I hit Tab and then go up to File and then Export and FBX, I will save this as, let's call it Cube Outline. And I'll hit Selected Objects, and oh, you know what, I forgot something. Canceling that out, and I'm going to go over into edit mode one more time and select everything with A, and then hit U to Smart UV Project. And this is basically unwrapping the UVs, so if you ever bake the lighting, it doesn't have any errors, which might happen if we imported that without doing that. So I'll go over to the FBX again. I'll export that. We'll name it cube again. Cube outline. And I'll hit selected objects. I'll go over to geometry and I'll change the smoothing to edge mode. If you don't do this, Unreal Engine will give you an error. And then I'll export that. So I'll jump back over to Unreal Engine and I'll grab my file here, my model, and drag it in. So here, just to make our lives a little bit easier, I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to make sure that materials, import materials is checked. And that'll just bring in the materials from Blender. And if we drag in our model, we have the cube with the outline around it. Now, a couple things you can change to make this a little better is if you open up the black material and drag this over here. If you click on this and you go down to shading model, you can switch this over to unlit and then drag this over to emissive. And that'll just keep any reflections from shining back on any of the outline. And then the second thing is if you're trying to mimic the style of Okami, one thing I noticed is that there's not really any shadows anywhere. So I'm just going to go ahead and go over to the details panel over here and type in cast shadow, and I'll just delete that or uncheck that. And that's pretty much the whole process from start to finish. Hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, please let me know, and thanks for watching.